Government Hour.
Welcome to the Business of Government Hour. I'm Michael Keegan, your host and managing editor of the Business of Government magazine. The U.S. federal government spends tens of billions of dollars each year on social programs that have been shown to produce modest results or worse. In other cases, billions of dollars have been spent on programs and funding streams for many years, and yet little is known from rigorous evidence about whether the programs are producing good outcomes. In the current age of fiscal austerity, when cuts in social programs are inevitable, it would be far better to cut programs that have minimal or no impact. The nation's social programs are unlikely to be improved until we learn to enact programs supported by rigorous evidence to improve existing programs based on evidence and shut down failing ones. What is program evaluation? What can be done to better integrate evidence and rigorous evaluation in budget, management, and policy decisions? How can federal agencies conduct rigorous program evaluation and data analytics on a tight budget? And how can federal agencies increase and enhance their evaluation capacity? We will explore these questions and so much more with our very special guest, Kathy Stack, Advisor for Evidence-Based Innovation at the Office of Management and Budget. Kathy, welcome to the show. It's great to have you.
Great to be here.
Kathy, let's provide some context before we delve into specific initiatives. What is the mission of the Office of Management and Budget, and how is it organized?
Sure. So OMB is largely staffed by career civil servants.
Really? Okay.
But it's in the Executive Office of the President. Its job is to provide objective advice and recommendations to the President on how he can achieve his objectives, while also ensuring effectiveness and efficiency in government operations. We develop the President's budget annually, looking at the agency recommendations and then figuring out how to fit it all within a constrained top line, which is never big enough to satisfy everybody. We set government-wide management policies on how to promote efficiency in government operations across the government. We coordinate the review of all legislative proposals, whether it's administration proposals to Congress or it's pending legislation in Congress, where we want to make sure we get the views of all the agencies who might be affected. And we review all the regulations and information collections that put potentially burden and constraints on the public, trying to make sure that we don't impose undue burden and that everything we're doing really has a clear purpose.
So I was wondering, how is the management and budget side, how do they support the President's agenda?
The budget side is kind of a vertical structure where each major cabinet department or agency has a counterpart, a branch on the budget side of OMB that oversees their policies, their budget, reviews their regulations, thinks about their management. I would say about half the staff of OMB, maybe a little more, is on the budget side. On the management side, we have the staff who are really set up horizontally. They're focused on functions like financial management, procurement, information technology, and performance management. And they work with the agencies trying to make sure that there's consistency in how they implement these approaches. So together, both the management and budget sides are very engaged in the President's agenda. I would say the budget side is more focused on the programmatic policies, working with the White House policy councils and the agency policy officials to implement the President's priorities. And often, presidential priorities, probably more so in this administration than any other I can think of, are cross-cutting, cross-agency, and that requires a lot of collaboration. And one of the great things about OMB is it's so small. Okay. It's less than 500 people. So it means that when you need to coordinate, say, between the Interior Department and the Education Department, the education examiner can walk across the hall to talk to the Interior examiner and cut a deal, or figure out who in their agencies needs to talk to each other. The management side of OMB is much more focused on kind of the implementation. How do we get the mission supports offices, the capacity and the infrastructure they need to support the policies.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to transition to your role within OMB. What are you doing now? And perhaps you can give us a sense of the path you took to get there.
Sure. So I'm in a new position that was just created in July, and it's kind of got an interesting title. I'm the Advisor for Evidence-Based Innovation. And I've got a terrific staff of all of like 3 other people who work with me. And it's our job right now to help federal agencies use evidence, build evidence, figure out how to learn from each other so that we can really bring to the fore the use of data and evidence in how agencies make decisions. I was at a point in my career over the last year where I said, I'm tired of the grind. There are certain important things that have to get done in government, and I can either try to do it from the outside or do it from the inside. Mm-hmm. And I was given the opportunity to try to do it from the inside in terms of this focus on evidence.
It sounds like you almost created your own job for yourself. It sounds like a wonderful sort of combination of opportunity and interest coming together.
That's exactly right. So, I had to create the job. I had to create a coalition of people who said, yes, this is important, let's do it. At the same time, it's not like I have a vast staff and a big organization to support me.
Sometimes it's a good thing, though, right? Because you can get more done or you can influence things a little bit more
Well, it
quickly.
becomes a coalition of the willing.
Sure.
And instead of beating people over the head to do stuff they don't want to do, it's really finding partners who can try to make things happen together.
Well, I was wondering, Kathy, what were your top or have been your top 3 challenges that you faced in this position or your immediate previous position, and how have you sought to address those challenges?
Well, first of all, in my new position, I'm rediscovering how important it is to build trust with agencies. I'm trying to work with all the agencies across government, and I'm thinking to myself, hey, I'm here to help you. And I've got a lot of agencies who are looking at me out of the corner of their eye saying, what? Because they're just not used to sharing information. And I think making progress on my particular agenda requires making people feel like they can be candid about the challenges in their agencies and some of the lack of expertise. So that's one big challenge, building trust. Secondly, it's a resource issue. Lots of other parts of OMB have a statutory mandate for what they do. Well, it turns out there's no statutory mandate that says that you shall develop capacity in agencies to use evidence and evaluation and data to make better decisions. It's implicit in some things, but it's not that strong a mandate. So I'm doing my best to find allies and partners inside agencies and also external partners in some of the think tanks and the nonprofits who are lending their support to this conversation and helping get the conversations going across agencies about best practices. And then I'd say the last challenge is maintaining momentum in leadership transitions. I've always got to convince leadership and new teams coming in that I've got some things and have some tools that can help them get their objectives achieved. And fortunately, I had a great transition from the Bush administration into the Obama administration. So we were able to just hit the ground running and pick up, hardly missing a beat on the evidence agenda.
So, Kathy, along with the